What's going on, guys? Welcome back to 3D Arcade. Today I'm bringing you guys the Week 9 Team Builder for BBR. This week we are taking on the creator of Draft League, Steve, aka Magnitude, and his franchise, the Milwaukee Sawsbucks. This team's pretty scary. This team is currently tied with us in the league. They are 2 and 5? No. Wait, 2 and 5? How could we be 2 and 5? 2 and 6. 2 and 6. I'm an idiot. We're both 2 and 6. Yeah, so unfortunately, if you guys missed last week, this is your spoiler alert. 3, 2, 1. Counted backwards. That's okay. We lost the timer going against Kyle A. Shout out to him. He got the win again. Make sure you guys check that video out from last week. But this week, we're going up against Steve. Steve has got an interesting team. He has drafted a team he's not very comfortable with per his videos and my research on the videos, but I think his team is actually... We're probably one of the best teams for him to try to go against. We're going to see what happens. I've done so many mocks this week. I think that he knows. I think if he figures out the exact team that I've been mocking here towards the end, it's going to come down to a 1-1. Or if he gets a flinch or something, it's going to be crazy. But his team is Darmanitan, Galarian, Dracovish, Rabombi, Roserade, Copperajah, Zoroark, Hitmontop, Claydol, Magnetric, Audino, and Torracat. He's brought all these Pokemon at least once. Galardarm didn't come for the first time last week, but I do expect Galardarm and Dracovish this week. In case you guys are wondering, that is about 400 of his 1,100 points for his budget. So he, he likes those Pokemon. Those are big Pokemon. They're definitely coming. Honestly, top 6 on his team that I listed, really likely to come. Darm, Dracovish, Rabombi, Roserade, Copperajah, Zoroark. Zoroark is probably the 3rd scariest Pokemon on our team, maybe tied with Rabombi. Rabombi is scary not offensively, but because it has webs. And this team, if we're going to win, is going to require entirely on slowing his team down and keeping our team fast. That's the only way it's happening. Man, it's going to be shenanigans. But that's Rabombi. And on top of that, Roserade just does really good because we're bringing Prim this week. Prim's one of our walls, our special wall, and Roserade can just kind of eat it, so we have to be careful with that. Luckily, we do have Clef, we do have Steel type, so hopefully we can kind of diminish that a little bit. In addition, we have got Copperajah here, Rocks coming in. Rocks and Webs could be bad, but he might see that just not working well for him because we do have a couple of, I mean, he might like it because we have a couple of flying ones, but knowing we have so many Defoggers and a Magic Bouncer and stuff, I mean, I think he might opt not to put him up this week as we get into our team. But Zoroark is scary because Zoroark can fake what it looks like, and also Zoroark's a dark type, which means it stops Prankster, which means anything we want to do with Klefki is we either had to make it Magician and slow it down, which is bad for everything but Zoroark, or we had to identify it, we're going to have to identify Zoroark, keep an eye on Zoroark, know where it is, know what we can do to it, and just hope it works out. Because Zoroark with Scar for Specs, very scary. I mean, it's kind of scary in general. It's got a great move pool for our team. But it's also something we can shut down if we can catch him off guard with the right Pokemon. Hitmontop could come because Hitmontop gets Triple Axle. We do have a couple of ice weaknesses. We are bringing a lot of ice weaknesses this week. It's okay with AV, but it's kind of slow. I just don't think it's the route he goes, but maybe he does. Claydol's pretty stally. Also has Rocks. Also has Rapid Spin. But knowing that he's got... I mean, maybe he doesn't want Defog Rabombi, but knowing he's got that option, as well as, let's check. He's also got Rapid Spin on Hitmontop. I feel like Hitmontop comes before Claydol does. I just think so. We don't have any speed control hazards, so he really might not be worried about our hazards, because if he can get webs up and slow us down, he can just sit Darm out there and wipe us with Icicle Crash. So I'm unsure, but maybe. I think we can handle it if it comes. Magnetric, with us having Lando... I just don't see it really coming because obviously like it can do some damage to Prim with specs, but we're actually AV Prim, so even though we're weak to electric, it's just kind of tough there. I think Roserade's a way better pick. Virizion also, holds it back. Klefki can kind of sit in front of it a little bit. We have lots of good Pokemon for Magnetric, and I just don't think he needs the speed with that if he's got these other Pokemon. Audino, I think that he will not anticipate this being a long battle and will not worry about a healer. I think. He might want a bulky knockoff user. We'll see. Torracat could come Scarf for Eviolite as well. Not totally sure it would come. Flare Blitz hits a few things, but it just doesn't do a lot if we can... I mean, it just kind of gets wrecked by Earthquake. So, and I don't think there's any way that he could expect... I think he's got to be expecting Scarf Lando, so I don't think he's going to bring Torracat. with that in mind, like I said, I'm kind of prepped mostly with the ult of Hitmontop for Darm, Dracovish, Rabombi, Roserade, Copperajah, Zoroark. I think maybe Hitmontop comes out for Roserade or Copperajah. If Zoroark doesn't come, it's going to be a good time. If either one of the big two don't come, it's going to be a good time. Setup Rabombi could be pretty scary as well. That's actually one of his better. Honestly, it's really tough. And Rabombi's scary because Rabombi or Roserade could be believable with Specs or Scarf. I mean, not really Scarf on Roserade, but Specs or Scarf or Life Orb on Roserade, which make it hard to know with Zoroark. So, I mean, he's just got a lot of ways to hide that Zoroark, and he could really take one of our Pokemon out, and our lead's going to be pretty crazy. This week, though, we're bringing Virizion, Landorus, Primarina, Xatu, and Dusclops. Those are our 6. Let's start out with them. I'm gonna start with our weapons, but we're gonna get into the crux of the strategy as we move through the video. So Virizion's coming this week, pretty standard Virizion, but it's actually special this week. It's not even really mixed. It does have close combat, but it's not even really mixed because we have no investment in that. So this is a Life Orb Virizion with Justified. So if we can get a switch in on a Dark Pulse, like if we find out he specs and he Dark Pulses something, at the very least we can force it out and try to make a good prediction by bringing in Viriz, because he's not going to want to specs Dark Pulses. Does max like 24. He already gets blown back by close combat, and then he's done some chip, but he's given us a +1. So we'll see. That said, we are max special attack, max speed. We are up speed, down defense. I believe that's naive. Are we naive? We're hasty. We're hasty, so we are as fast as we can be. We're going to outspeed everything on his team without a Scarf except Rabombi. Rabombi also hits this pretty hard, so that kind of stinks, but we'll see if we can get around it. We have Leaf Storm, Air Slash, Close Combat, and Synthesis this week. I don't know when we'll click Synthesis, but because Rabombi's so often Sash, I went with Air Slash over Stone Edge just because we have all that special investment. We have the chance to crit, and it hits Roserade, whereas Stone Edge has a couple of more switch-ins for him. We didn't want to go Choice Item because being able to move around here is really important for reading switches and stuff. Like I said, a Synthesis could be amazing because we are Life Orb, could save us. Rabombi, I think, without a boost kills us if we've done like more than one attack, so we have to be careful of that. Be mindful of when we let this go down. Also, if I don't know if I mentioned it, but Darman, Dracovish, excellent Scarf users this week. Super excellent Scarf users. I don't think Zoroark needs Scarf, but it could also run Scarf and be very scary. Just lowering its damage output, so we have a chance to figure out what it is faster. But Scarf Dracovish or Scarf Darm pretty much mollywop this thing. I think we might live one Vicious Rend from full, but we can't kill it. I think the max we can do is like 78 with Leaf Storm, so if we could somehow live Darm, I would do that in close combat it. We could Scarf, but then we're just basically Scarfing to beat Darm, and that's not necessarily the best choice. And if we Scarf into a close combat, if he figures out we're Scarf, even if he loses that Darm, we either let this thing go down because we can't kill anything else with a close combat, or he just, it was risky. So that's this Pokemon. Like I said, Leaf Storm here. It does hit Dracovish. That's our best against Copperajah. It does great damage against Zoroark. It does good damage against Claydol. Probably, actually, I think takes Claydol out. Does good damage against Audino, but we're not clicking that against Audino. Air Slash for Rabombi and Roserade. And also Hitmontop is weak to flying, right? Isn't fighting weak to flying? Hitmontop. Hitmontop. Where's flying? Right here. Yeah, Hitmontop's also weak to flying. And close combat hits Darm. It hits Copperajah. It hits Zoroark. And it hits Audino. Rabombi does quad resist, so we have to be careful there. But we actually do a chunk because Rabombi's still just it's a beat. So that's Virizion this week. Next up, we're going to Tiger King, the Landorus Therian. By the way, if you guys noticed in the battle, I did forget to full disclosure, I gin things for these battles, not in general, but I do gin them. Forgot to make it shiny, forgot to put a name on it, but it is a rose, so cool Virizion. So Tiger King, Landorus Therian. We are Scarf, we are Intimidate, we have to be Intimidate. This week we are 228 in speed, 228 in special defense, and 252 in attack. I hope our nature's okay. I don't remember exactly what we outspeed. It might be Rabombi. It might be non-Scarf Rabombi. But we're pretty damn fast. And we didn't really need the extra attack. We are hitting things as hard as we need to hit things. And a little extra attack didn't really help us with Adamant, but the special defense can help us eat things if Roserade or Rabombi or something gets a hit off on us. So that's the idea there, because Rabombi is a 2-hit KO with Earthquake. Roserade is potentially, this is a switch for Roserade, so we have to be careful around that. Earthquake's going to destroy Darmanitan. Dracovish is 2-hit by Earthquake. U-turn's good option, but we don't want to stay in front of Darmanitan because Darmanitan's faster than us with a Scarf and he'll kill us. Rabombi goes down to 2 Earthquakes, goes down to 1 Stone Edge if it's not Focus Sash. Roserade goes down to an Earthquake. Caparajah, non-Shuckaberry, almost certainly goes down to an Earthquake. I think it's a roll, but it does at least 90, and it really can't kill us in one hit, so it's another thing that might hit us on the physical side that we'll have to watch out for. Zoroark can do some decent damage to us, but it also cannot one-shot us, and Earthquake will kill it because it's squishy. Hitmontop. Don't really have a good answer for Hitmontop, but Earthquake it still doesn't like. Claydol, knockoff and U-turn do great damage. Free knockoffs on the switch if we're cool having to force switch and put something back in. Like say we know we're in on Roserade. We're pretty darn sure we're at full health. We're pretty sure that he's going to swap to Darm because that's how he kills this. But maybe he doesn't. I mean, even if he goes, say he swaps to Claydol, then we get a knockoff on the Claydol and we knock off again, and even though he doesn't have an item, it's super effective and he's gone. Boom, sweet. Or if he switches it out again, we knock something else off. Free knockoffs. U-turn does a good amount of damage to it because it's weak to it. Obviously, Earthquake's killing Manectric. Audino doesn't want to take really any of these hits either, and Torcat's down to Earthquake. So that's the idea with this one. Next up, we have Ballerini the Primarina. This week we are AV. We are fully, we're like a tank of a Prim. Thankfully, our special attack's already still good. We are Monas, so we're up special attack. We have 4 UVs in special attack, our leftovers. But we have 252 in HP and defense, and that is so our naturally high special defense can kind of help with some of these special mons. But it's so that Caparajah and Darmanitan and Dracovish can't just destroy us right away. Hitmontop also just kind of gets walled by us. I don't know why they would stay in with those mons. Moonblast is doing a lot to everything but Caparajah. Our strat for Caparajah is going to be this Scald that we have on this Pokemon. Try to get burns if we're stuck in against it, because nothing else really wants to take a heavy slam. It's just tough, except for Dusclops, which we'll get to. It's a tough battle. We'll see how it goes. Ideally, this would not come in. This is also our dedicated switch from our lead if Rabombi comes in. And we're sure it's Rabombi because we don't want to let Rabombi keep stacking Quiver Dances. So if we come in Moonblast, we have a chance to lower it. It takes like 4 Quiver Dances to do, I think 3 Quiver Dances to get to half on us to 2-shot us. So we have a chance. Flip Turn so we can get out of there. Aqua Jet so we can get priority on something, because I found in a lot of our mocks that we were getting things down, pardon me for hitting the mic, to like 10% of their health, and we couldn't kill him because we couldn't outspeed him. Something went wrong with the strat. So that's what Aqua Jet's here for. Hopefully take something out. Scald for burns on things like Darm and Dracovish as well. Dracovish super resist it. But Dracovish, if I'm in and Dracovish comes in, I really think it's going to be the Zoroark, because the Zoroark gets Grass Knot and does massive damage. But we have to be careful. And this actually was originally a Scarfer as well, but I decided we needed a little more defense. And honestly, modest, no investment Prim still kills Dracovish with Moonblast, still kills Zoroark with Moonblast. It gets more chances to burn and more utility, right? We can flip it out. Say we know we're gonna live, but we can't do major damage. We don't want to risk the burn this turn. We don't want to have to hard swap. We don't want to let it go down. We can flip turn, so we slow flip turn like on a Darm. We know the Darm is locked into Icicle Crash, right? We can flip turn and kind of play around that a little bit. Is the idea there? Same with Dracovish, especially Scarf Dracovish. Regular Dracovish outspeeds us too. I don't know what I'm saying. Next up, we're bringing Doc the Xatu this week. Xatu is coming with Yachi Berry and Magic Bounce. So Magic Bounce is going to help us get switches in on that Rabombi, but we have to be really careful because if that Rabombi is a Zoroark, it Dark Pulses us and we die. Pretty much no way to save that other than Culper Berry, so we didn't even try. Really don't want this to be caught in front of the Zoroark. We did originally have Tailwind on this for speed control, but every time I got a Tailwind up, he was able to stall it out. So here's where we get into our strat. This is a support mon now. We had to put Defog somewhere so we could try to get a last-ditch Defog. So we have Defog. We have U-Turn. hits Claydol, cool. Also hits Zoroark, but it's not living a hit on a Zoroark. We're also timid, so we're down in attack, but it's there for pivoting. We have Heat Wave for damage. Heat Wave hits Darm, it hits Rabombi, it hits Roserade, it hits Zoroark actually for decent, Copperajah for decent if it's not AV. And I do think Copperajah this week is going to be a berry. It's going to be either Chople or Shuka, and we're going to have to figure out which one, because that's very scary. If he brings the Fire Berry, rip for him, because he probably thinks I'm bringing Heat more and I'm not. So that's the idea there. We are timid, so we're 95 speed. We have a chance. We outspeed Paralyzed Scarf Darm, because Paralysis halves your speed, and Choice Scarf only gives you 1.5 times. So since they have the same base speed, even if he's timid and scarfed, he's lower when he's paralyzed. So that's the idea there. If we just take his scarf away and he's not paralyzed, it's a roll. We'll have to figure that out when we get there, basically. The defense is so that we take, basically this is so that if we have last ditch effort to deal with the Darm, because in so many mocks, the Darm would stay till the end, it wouldn't be paralyzed, or it would get aromatherapy, which is scary. That's why Roserade's a threat and why I think it should come. It would be Darm and it would be Scarf and it would be fine. So we saved a Xatu for the end, and I could keep Tailwind on it, but then he could play around me if he didn't just have the Darm. But what I can do here is I can trick. And I can take that Scarf. We live a hit. We maybe get a Heat Wave off, or we get a Defog off with the Scarf before the Darm kills us on the next turn. Or even better yet, if we don't need to Defog and he swaps, we get a Heat Wave on something, we get another Heat Wave on something. Cool. Just if he's trying to preserve the Darm for some reason. But this all goes downhill if he flinches us. This is where the flinch hacks come in. A lot of these strats require being able to trick or switcheroo or something on Darm. And it can be bad. Same thing with Zoroark and Dracovish. Dracovish, thankfully, probably will not be hitting us with a move that flinches, but Dark Pulse from Zoroark, 20-30% chance. I don't remember which. Same thing for... Unfortunately, same thing for Icicle Crash, so we'll figure that out. But ideally, we trick it, and that's how that happens. And then we've got like Lando in the back that outspeeds it, or Virizion that would outspeed it with no webs, and they clean up at the very end. That's the idea behind this set. Next up, we have Dusclops. Dusclops is almost probably always our dedicated lead. But if there's a Zoroark, we're leading this. And we're Frisk, and that's why. We get at least one item, even if this thing only sees the first Pokemon. If it's Copperajah, we know it's Copperajah. If it's Zoroark, we have a good chance of trying to guess it. Same thing with Roserade. Like if it's Black Sludge, we know it's Roserade. If it's Focus Sash, it's almost certainly Rabombi. If it's Scarf, it could be Darm, Dracovish, Rabombi, or Zoroark. I don't think he Scarfs the Rabombi in this set, though. I think he Throat Sprays it or Focus Sashes it, which is another really common set he's been running. Ideally, I think his best team is Scarf Darm, Scarf Dracovish, Choice Specs Zoroark, Shuka Copperajah, Life Orb Roserade, and Focus Sash Rabombi. That gives him so many options to just shut me down. But we're here. So ideally, if we're out there and we see a... I think... It depends on the team comp, but if it's Copperajah, we probably stay in. If it's Roserade, it's really tough. It's really tough. If we stay in, we probably click Trick. If we stay in on the Copperajah for some reason, depending on team comp, we click Counter. We do massive damage to it. If we get a counter off, or we get a trick off, and Scarf still wouldn't, on something with a Scarf, it still doesn't make us fast enough to hit it, but we could Shadow Sneak it. If we stay in and counter, we can Pain Split. Like if we do stay in on Copperajah, he hits us with a heavy slam, we counter, he sees that we're doing more damage to him, and he's not going to outpace us. He'll switch for something, and we Pain Split. We get a lot of our health back, we damage whatever comes in next. Rabombi here would be beautiful, because we break that thing's sash. It's defensive and careful nature, so that we have some chances to live that we live that Zoroark's Dark Pulse. Ideally, he leads Dracovish, Darm, or Zoroark. I think those are all very strong leads. I think super important. Honestly, I think a Zoroark pretending to be a Darmanitan, very, very, very smart. And we trick either one of those, hope we don't get critted, and then we've taken away its speed at the very beginning, and all we have to do is position ourselves to where we get a free swap in front of it. So Darm or Zoroark, it hits us, we steal its item, we Shadow Sneak it, boom. Dusclops is unfortunately gone, we've lost that wall, but Ballerini can help with Zoroark and Dracovish, so ideally that's Darm. Darm's the scariest Pokemon, which is why I've got the Xatu for last ditch effort in case that's not the lead. Lastly, we have Jailer the Klefki this week. Another switcheroo set. We're stealing a lot of items this week. That's the only way we win. If he doesn't bring a lot of scarfs, then maybe we can play around it anyway. But if he does, this is the only way we win. And this is why I think it's his best strat. It's a strat he's run before, and it did not work for him. And I think he might be afraid to run it, but I think he might know it's his best chance. Steve's a really good battler, even though he's uncomfortable with his team, so we're being very careful with it. This week, Klefki is Akaberry, and that is so that if he gets in on a Zoroark or a Darmanitan, we take a Flare Blitz or we take a Flamethrower, we do good damage against, we see both. The scariest thing is we don't know which one it is. If we don't know which one's in front of us, we're going to have to be very careful, and we're probably going to start with a Play Rough. If it is Zoroark, we have a really good chance to kill it with Play Rough. If it's taken like any damage, we almost certainly kill it with Play Rough. If it's not, we only chip the Darm. Hopefully we get an attack lower. We get a chance to lower its attack. I don't like that it's 10% accuracy, less accuracy than D-Gleam, but we're physical because it's the difference. It's like an extra 30% chance to OHKO Zoroark if we get in this situation. And that's kind of our play if we're at full health. If we're not, we could consider a Reflect, and then we probably go down to the Flamethrower, but we don't want to Switcheroo or Thunder Wave, and it turned out to be Zoroark. That'd be very bad. This thing is ideally the matchup with Dracovish, because we could T-Wave the Dracovish, and the Dracovish with a Scarf is a lot less scary with a T-Wave, because its Vicious Rend does a lot less. Ideally, we Switcheroo the Dracovish, because then he can't get Aromatherapied by Roserade. Roserade can kind of wall this. It can kind of wall Roserade. T-Waving things is amazing. Reflect is awesome. Play Rough, like I said. If that Darm comes in on us, we're full health. It Flare Blitzes us. We live, we Switcheroo, and then we Play Rough probably back, because he probably swaps. Basically, they only get one Mon each. And ideally, it would be Dracovish is Klefki, Darmanitan is Dusclops, and Doc is also Darmanitan. But actually, I guess it would be ideally it's Zoroark is. If Zoroark's not Scarf, we can figure that out. We can play around that a little bit. But ideally, I think it would. I guess it would be Dusclops, no flinch, a Zoroark. Klefki takes care of Dracovish, and then Xatu gets to take care of Darm in the end. I think once we've pulled this off once, he might think we're doing it more than one time, and he's definitely playing around that one Pokemon. I'm also scared if we pull it off twice. Does he think I go for it a third time? Because, I mean, it's kind of hacksy, it's kind of not. Because obviously he's got to, if he flinches me, I'm dead. If he crits me, I'm dead. Like, it's a really, really hard matchup for us, but if we can steal the Scarfs off of those things, we have a good chance to win. Dracovish at the very end can really, really put a wrench in our plans, because it's almost always going to be Landorus at the end. And even if it's Virizion, nothing we have besides Prim can OHKO that Dracovish. So if that Dracovish is here at the end, we have to hope ideally it's Parrot and its Scarf is gone, because then it has a chance to not move. If we're at full on Tiger King, we have a chance to live a Vicious Rend. If he crits or something, that's bad. If we've been chipped even a little, it's bad. It's very tough. I don't know if I mentioned it, but this is also defensively Careful Nature. To 252 HP, 252 defense. We have 4 in speed, so that if we paralyze a Dracovish, we actually outspeed it by 1. Perfect scenario, the other Mons are taken care of, and for some reason he keeps leaving the Dracovish in, and then we switch or like, if we know it's the Dracovish, we can T-Wave and then switcheroo. If it's banded, then we switcheroo and we Play Rough. If it's not banded, by the way, this is adamant Dracovish that we'd outspeed by 1 point with no invest. It's yeah, outspeeded Scarf Dracovish. So say if he's T-Waved and he's not timid, then we outspeed it, is what I'm saying. Anyway, there's lots of things to figure out here. Obviously, getting these choice items on Dusclops and on Klefki kind of ruin them in terms of 1v1s. But if we do all that to that Dracovish, and then we get the Primarina out, it gets to fire off a free Moonblast or a Scald on something trying to come in and take it out, and that's awesome. and then Klefki gets to come back in when something goes down with a free switch, and ideally just para something else. If he gets creative, honestly, the other Mons, while they're not prepped to be killed, if he brought a team that was like Scarf Darm, Life Orb Vish, Throat Spray, Rabombi, no Zoroark, like Copperajah, Himotop Plate, all. If he doesn't bring that set, this gets exponentially easier. But that set gives him so many opportunities to flinch. The Pokemon are so good. We're going to see how it goes. I've got this battle in a couple hours. I hope you guys enjoy it. Let's see if we can get some wins to end the season, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow for the battle. Peace.